This episode is brought to you by our patrons: Maria Lane Kelly, Kim Hokinson, Bree Ames Smith, Robin Brown, Heather Justin, Maria Carla Sanchez, Amanda Gilmore, Jill Harrigan, Jamie Lang, Heather McKinnon, Valerie Jacobson, Janelise Cannon, Michaela Frew, Monique Harris-Pixato, Lindsay Cummings, Sarah Mikado, and Eric and Carolyn Shumway. You can join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month and get all kinds of thank you gifts and ad-free episodes. Visit our website at What'sHerNamePodcast.com to become a patron. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Olivia.
Imagine, if you will, that you are a fisherman making your way through the Gulf of St. Lawrence.
Okay.
In what is today Eastern Canada.
What a coincidence. I can imagine it vividly. I'm recording this from a house on the water of Cape Ann. Just this morning, I've been watching the fishermen from my back porch and seeing what they pull up and catch.
Well, you might have to make a few adaptations.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like what year are we in?
1543.
Oh, okay.
So slightly less technologically sufficient boats.
Yes,
probably.
I see.
And several hundred miles north of you.
Mm-hmm.
So quite cold, quite desolate.
Wow. Am I among the indigenous people of Canada?
No.
Oh.
But that is pretty much everyone else who is there.
Yeah. Like European?
Basque. So yeah, European.
Okay.
Spanish.
Okay. To be fishing in the New World in the 1540s is to be one of the first European fishermen
In the Americas.
after
Yes.
Columbus and Cortez.
Yes.
Wow. Fun. Okay.
In the distance, you see an island that you would normally steer very clear of. This is the Isle of Demons,
Oh.
famous for the terrifying screams, wails, demonic voices
Whoa.
that rule the island.
Okay.
You see a person standing on the shore,
Whoa.
screaming, jumping, waving, help me, save me, save me.
Oh my gosh. I would be very afraid.
Yes. You, I'm sure, very tentatively
Yes.
make your way to the island,
Okay.
probably because this person is a woman
What?
on her own on the Isle of Demons
What?
in this terrifying frigid waterway between mainland Canada and Newfoundland.
Okay.
It has been literal years since anyone has crossed through these waters.
Wow.
This is Marguerite de La Rocque,
Yay!
and she has been marooned on the Isle of Demons for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
She has spent the last year and a half entirely alone. I'm Olivia Mickle,
And I'm Katie Nelson.
and this is What's Her Name?
Fascinating women you've never heard of.
To help us dig into this incredible, very complicated story, I have with us today Allegra Goodman, who is the author of the wildly popular new novel Isola,
Yay!
New York Times bestseller, Reese Witherspoon Book Club, Stephen Colbert Book Club, and for good reason, because this is obviously a banger of a story
Yes.
to begin with.
Yep.
And so well told in this book. Done in such an interesting, beautiful, and unexpected way.
My name is Allegra Goodman. I live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but I grew up in Hawaii. I've been obsessed with islands my whole life. And my historical novel is called Isola, which is the Italian word for island. This was a book that gestated for a very long time. Almost 24 years ago, I was on a road trip with my family up from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Montreal with our 4 children, who were then 10, 7, 3, and 0 years old, newborn. Before going on this trip, I went to the Cambridge Public Library and took out every children's book I could find about Canadian history, which I thought I would share with the 3 older children. And surprise, surprise, I was the only person who read these books. And one night, nursing my baby daughter, I was reading a biography of Jacques Cartier, the great French explorer of the 16th century, and his 3 voyages to what they called New France. And the author of this book said in an aside, literally in parentheses, on this voyage, Cartier's ships were followed by a ship of colonists. And on this ship, which was commanded by a man named Roberval, was a young noblewoman who annoyed the commander so that he marooned her on an island in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, where she managed to survive for 2 years by herself until she was rescued by Basque fishermen and returned to France. And then it was sort of like closed parentheses. And I was like, wait, what? You know, I grew up on an island, Oahu, which of course is a tropical island, but I've always been fascinated throughout my whole life and my whole career with stories of castaways. And I immediately just thought, this is so dramatic. This is fascinating. And it's such a mystery. How did she manage? Who was this woman? And immediately I thought this would be such a great subject for a historical novel. And I immediately after that thought, but wait, I don't write historical novels. I have to do a lot of research to write this book. I'd have to figure out what she wore and what she ate and what the ship was like. And I can't do that. I write contemporary fiction. This is too hard. I don't have the bandwidth for this. So I put that idea aside. And I wrote a whole bunch of other books. But this parenthetical aside by this author just got its hooks into me. And I just couldn't stop thinking about Marguerite. So I started sort of reading about her over the years, or what I could find out. Not with any intention of writing about it, but just out of just pure curiosity. Fast forward to about 2020. I'm writing another book, the novel called Sam, a coming-of-age story about a young girl growing up in Beverly, Massachusetts, on the North Shore of Massachusetts. And I really started thinking about Marguerite, who was another young woman coming of age hundreds of years before on her rocky island north of Massachusetts. And I decided that maybe I would take a stab at just starting the book, just write the first sentence. And having read and reread so many castaway stories, I knew that if I was going to write her story, it was going to be in the first person. So I sat down with a notebook. I was too nervous even to work on my computer. And I just started experimenting with different first lines. And after my 30th attempt, I came up with a very short sentence. I never knew my mother. She died the night that I was born, and so we passed each other in the dark. And I thought, oh, well, there she is. I can hear her. Even then, I wasn't sure that I could pull it off. So I decided not to tell anyone that I was working on it, including people in my family. I didn't tell my husband for 18 months until I finished a very rough first draft before I admitted to anyone that I had actually attempted writing her story.
And this is, of course, another one of those stories where we have about a tablespoon of actual known facts.
Yep.
And 100,000 gallons of glorious speculation.
Wonderful. I mean, I'd say we have a lot of evidence, but the evidence itself is sus. So it's not just making up stuff. It's deciding which bits of evidence you choose to be true.
Which version of this story do we think happened? The very few facts that we do know are bananas.
For sure.
Everything about this story is straight out of a Victorian sensation novel or a mid-80s soap opera, or it is the most fantastical nonsense you could imagine. And at least some of it is actually
true.
happened.
Yeah.
Marguerite was born into the French semi-aristocracy. She is a wealthy heiress. She's an orphan. And she's a girl. So obviously she cannot have any control over any of her own money or her own life.
Yeah. We're gonna marry her off quickly.
And that's what her guardian was supposed to do. Her guardian was her probably uncle, maybe cousin, maybe half-brother, some sort of relative.
Yeah.
Jean-François de La Rocque de Roberval,
Okay.
a.k.a. Roberval. Also a nobleman. He was besties with the king. And he was a pirate.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
He's a privateer for the French government.
Okay.
He is officially commissioned to go bother Spanish ships
Yeah.
and Spanish colonies.
Uh-huh.
He seems to have been very determined to keep hold of Marguerite's money.
Of course.
So rather than find her a husband, which is what he was supposed to do,
He decides to marry her himself.
he didn't do that.
Oh, that's
So they
good.
must have been close enough relatives that was inappropriate.
I guess he wouldn't need to if he's already the legal guardian.
He doesn't have to marry her. All he has to do is prevent her from marrying someone else.
Yes, of course.
So he decided to take her with him to New France before New France exists. He has been appointed the Lieutenant General of New France,
Wow.
the hypothetical colony.
Yeah. Go over there to the New World and claim some stuff for France.
Yes. He heads off to what is now Canada in 1541
Wow.
with 200 colonists to plant a Christian settlement in what is now Quebec.
That is wild.
This colonist expedition is tagging along behind / with famous French explorer Jacques Cartier's third expedition.
Wow.
This is the first time Cartier has been sent to attempt to facilitate the planting of a colony. The first two expeditions were just exploration. Cartier is looking for a sea route to Asia,
Yes.
which he does not find,
Yes.
and resources, of course.
Yep.
Roberval is
In his wake.
sailing with Cartier,
okay.
mostly for safety and because he knows how to get there.
Yeah. Wow, what an adventure.
Yeah, I can't emphasize how early
Exactly.
this is. This is
almost
40 years before the failed colony at Roanoke.
Yeah.
This is 60 years before Jamestown.
Yeah.
80 years before the Mayflower. This is...
It's 10 years after Cortez.
Yeah.
Like Malincene's still alive and building her empire in the Aztec world. Wow, these two could have met each other.
This is the first real European attempt at colonization in the northerly part of North America.
Mm-hmm.
On board this ship with her guardian Roberval, Marguerite apparently had an affair with a man on the ship.
Okay.
This man is never named in any version of this account.
Uh-huh.
He is sometimes called a sailor, sometimes called the ship's servant. So we have no idea who he was. These two were caught, and Roberval, being an incredibly strict Calvinist and a pretty brutal man in general.
Calvinist? A French Calvinist?
Calvinist. He is a Protestant Huguenot.
Okay.
Which is quite fascinating, with him being BFFs with the very Catholic king, right?
Yeah, that's why it's surprising.
With his strict Protestant beliefs, Roberval cannot allow this behavior to continue.
No.
And he determines to abandon her Him? Both?
Okay.
It depends on who you're listening to.
Okay.
On an island, he is going to maroon them to purge them of their sin and allow God to punish them. There are several different versions of how this came about, with very different stories and very different motivations.
I already have 3 different plots in my head, and they're all great.
Yeah. Yes, they're all fantastic.
You can make it a true love story, her joining him joining her, him banishing both of them, true love or no true love.
And these are the very questions that we have to ask. As far as sources go, here's what we have.
There were 2 contemporary accounts of her ordeal. I will say that both of these accounts from the 16th century are only a couple pages long. So they're very, very short. And they conflict with each other. One is by the Queen of Navarre, who was the sister of the King of France and was a powerful and interesting woman in her own right, a philanthropist, poet, a writer of her own, and an intellectual. And this queen wrote a book called the Heptameron, which was published after her death. And it was a collection of stories which she said were based on true events. And her idea was to model this book on the Decameron by Boccaccio, where noble people get together and exchange stories for a period of 10 days. So she wanted to do that same structure with her stories, which she said were all true. But she died before she finished the book, so her book is called The Heptameron because she only had enough stories for 7 days.
She's the Shakespeare of France, in my opinion. Like Shakespeare, she'll take history and go, you know what would be better if we just add this, a little bit of that.
Yes.
And I will say that her account of Marguerite's ordeal, she had very specific purpose in writing this. It's almost like a fable about a woman who's loyal to her husband, who is punished on the ship. Her husband's the one who annoyed the commander, and Marguerite insists on sharing his punishment and going into exile on this island with him. So the moral of the story is that women are loyal and faithful and true. She says that she had an account of this from Roberval during Marguerite's lifetime.
Roberval being one of her brother's best friends. In the Queen's version, Roberval maroons the man, and Marguerite begs to be allowed to stay with him because she is so loyal to this man that she loves.
Yes.
And she follows him to the island. And Roberval is definitely not the kind of monster who would strand a 20-year-old woman on an island. She did it to herself.
Yeah. So that makes sense. That's the Roberval version.
Sure.
That has come down to us. Okay.
The other, at least quasi-first-hand account that we have is André Thivet's Cosmographie Universelle, History of North America, essentially. He is a priest who, according to him, spoke directly with Marguerite, who told him her story herself. It's longer and it has a lot more precise details.
In his account, she has a lover on the ship. She is punished for this by her kinsmen.
According to Thivet, Roberval abandoned Marguerite on the island with her elderly servant woman, Damienne, 4 guns and ammunition, and that is all.
Okay.
The boyfriend is so horrified by what's happening, and I like that the priest also cynically notes, afraid that they're going to do the same thing to him on a different island by himself, that he precipitates himself onto the island. Some people have taken that to mean dives overboard and swims to her.
Yes, let's make it that. I love that.
The problem with that is if he did swim ashore, he swam with his own guns, clothing, a fire steel, measures of biscuits, cider, linen, iron tools, and a few other commodities necessary for their use.
Okay.
But he demanded to be left with his beloved on the island.
Good. I like that one.
Now, this list is interesting to me because it really strongly implies that Roberval was leaving Marguerite with none of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Just a gun and ammunition.
But that's standard for the time. The captain of a ship has absolute legal authority over everybody. And any rules, even the pettiest, tiniest rules, you maroon somebody on an island with a gun. That's it. So that they can either defend themselves or kill themselves. That's the understanding.
Yeah, he's not doing anything legally wrong.
Yeah.
And in his own view, morally wrong at all. He is correct to do this.
Yes.
And in the words of the priest, there Roberval left them angry at the wrong his relative had done them, and joyous at having punished them without soiling his hands with their blood. He's gonna let God take care of it.
Good job, Roberval. You found the righteous solution.
There were two principles I really worked with so that the reader would sort of understand the cultural framework of Marguerite's adventure and her ordeal. How incredibly strange and different and shocking it would have been for a woman coming from that society to end up on a deserted island in the wilds of North America and then fend for herself. I wanted to always give the reader that context so that we could see the contrast between Marguerite's noble life and her life on the island. You know, somebody like Robinson Crusoe knew how to work with his hands. He knew how to shoot a gun. He knew how to hunt for food, and he built a house and a stockade, and he raised goats and all kinds of things. Marguerite probably never even dressed herself, you know? This is a really extreme change for her and would be the source of her transformation. When you think about how early this was in the exploration of North America, there was going to be no other ship coming. Like when the Pilgrims came, they knew there would be more ships coming later. Cartier was the only person who had sailed in these waters that she was aware of. And so I wanted to emphasize the strangeness of that, and also the fact that she has to think about how to keep on living there and whether to keep trying to live there with no prospect of going home again. It's really hard for us to wrap our heads around that now because we live in such an interconnected world. Even people who go to remote places, they have their flares and they're geocoded, and there's no communication for her. She really was sort of dropping off the edge of the earth.
You are dealing with frigid temperatures.
No.
You have almost nothing to eat. And now you are completely on your own to defend yourself against the thousands of demons that own the island upon which you are stranded.
Okay. Where is the Isle of Demons as in relation to Newfoundland? Is it?
An excellent question.
Oh.
Nobody knows.
Oh.
Some people think they know.
Cool. It's a game of which place did they call the Isle of Demons?
Yes, there's two main contenders now.
Interesting. They didn't map it accurately back then?
They mapped it accurately to the other tiny things around it. But, this is the first time they've been through this strait.
They don't yet have the zoomed out view.
And they don't know what any of these things around it are.
Huh.
And she doesn't know how to tell anyone where it was because she doesn't know where it was.
Mm.
There are a couple of different theories. And actually, I did have a message from a book group at NASA, and they wanted to geocode her island. And I said, nobody's really, really sure. There's a couple places that could be.
The two main contenders now include an island called Harrington Harbor, which is sort of in the middle of the Gulf of St. Lawrence between Newfoundland and mainland Canada. On Harrington Harbor, there is a cave called Marguerite's Cave,
Ooh.
which is folk history where she lived.
Okay.
Or Carpoon Island at the very northern tip of Newfoundland.
Okay.
Both are tiny. Both are desolate. Both had no human inhabitants at the time she was left.
Do either of them have a natural history of howling creatures and or rock formations that the wind blows through and sounds like demons?
Right. Here's the excellent question, right? What were these people hearing?
Yeah.
There's nothing really obvious on either one now that would make you say, oh, the cave formations, right?
Nothing?
That sound like screaming women.
No, like foxes or...
Well, so I think it's animals.
Yeah.
Because all of the animals in this area would have been completely new to any European arriving here. They would not only have never seen or heard any of these animals, they would never have seen or heard anything like these animals. And
so what is native to Newfoundland?
So, yeah, we have lynxes.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you've ever heard lynxes in mating season. It is the strangest, most terrifying sound.
Oh.
Unearthly sounding.
Demonic, would you say?
And the Queen of Navarre does mention lions trying to attack Marguerite on the island.
Okay.
There's no big cats in that area, but there are lynxes.
Okay.
And that's big enough to be terrifying.
Okay.
Red foxes famously sound
horrifying.
They sound like a woman being murdered. Canadian loons make one of the most unearthly hairs on the back of your neck go up. That is either a ghost or a harpy or the portal to hell.
Yeah.
All of these sounds would have been absolutely terrifying. And it may have just been right that the acoustics of this island amplified the sounds of these animals in a way that was unusual, or there was wind patterns, something going on there. In the words of the priest, at night they often heard such loud cries that it seemed as if there were more than 100,000 men screaming together.
Wow.
So,
men screaming together.
Whatever it was, which is interesting. Whatever it was terrifying. He also mentions the ravages of the evil spirits that tried to destroy their little dwelling and appeared as diverse kinds and shapes of frightful animals.
Oh.
So there were definitely animals involved.
Frightful animals that they decided was demons taking animal form. Okay.
Yeah. Because these are unlike any animals that exist on Earth, right?
And that is also hard for us to wrap our heads around now, when we have the benefit of like National Geographic and the beautiful nature documentaries, and we have zoos. We see this incredible photography of like the Arctic. We all know what a polar bear looks like. For her to see a bear that's completely white, I mean, that is terrifying and miraculous.
These three castaways do their best to try to establish some sort of livable conditions.
Well, I have zero survival instinct, I believe. I think I would quit. Those people who have that survival instinct that keeps them going, that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Do I at least have a volleyball that I can name Wilson and
To
have as
befriend.
a companion?
No volleyball.
Okay, I'll weave my own.
And also, by the way, you are an aristocrat, and it is unlikely that before landing on this island, you have ever even dressed yourself.
Mm-hmm. Wow, what a story.
They build a dwelling of foliage and make beds of the same, and live off of things they can forage and animals they can kill. For of bread, they had no way to have any. Now, this is not a particularly friendly foraging landscape, right? There are obviously indigenous peoples who've been living here for thousands of years and surviving well, but they have none of that knowledge. They have no idea what's edible, what's not, what's going to kill them immediately, what's going to kill them slowly. And the main sort of forageable, edible plants are various kinds of berries. There are blueberries and lignin berries. There's bake apple that are sometimes called cloudberries, which are tasty. I like bake apple, but they're small and hard to gather. There's dandelion, fireweed, stinging nettle, fiddlehead ferns, fish, if they can catch it, obviously, and whatever animals they can kill with their long guns. Hares, ermine, voles, and bears.
Oh, bears. Yeah, of course. Black bears? Brown bears?
Black bears and bears as white as an egg.
Ooh.
And in fact,
Interesting.
Marguerite told the priest that she personally killed 3 bears, including 1 polar bear.
Wow.
That is an astounding statement. Polar bears are 3 times the size of black bears. Like, I don't think anyone who's not seen a polar bear can understand how huge. A polar bear is 1,600 pounds. And she apparently fought off a polar bear that was trying to kill her.
I find that to be a little sus.
And then, somewhere between 8 and 12 months in, she gave birth to a child.
Aww.
Giving birth after almost a year of starvation and hypothermia and disease and bad water.
Oh my gosh.
And I cannot imagine. Her man died a few weeks before the birth of the baby.
Oh.
According to the priest, her servant followed the path of the gentle lover.
My gosh.
And then the baby died.
Aww.
And so, for at least the last year and a half of her time on the island, Marguerite was completely alone.
Man.
It's mind-boggling. Even as a kid who grew up obsessed with Island of the Blue Dolphins and Swiss Family Robinson and Castaway stories.
Yep.
How she stayed alive is mind-boggling. In fact, this terrain is so difficult for Europeans to stay alive in that Roberval's colonization effort was a total failure, if that helps anyone feel better about it. First, he was abandoned by Jacques Cartier, who was rushing back to France with what he thought were masses of gold and diamonds that he'd discovered near now Quebec City, and was supposed to stay and help Roberval sort of establish a colony, but wanted to go back and get his money. And Roberval's colonizers made it through one atrocious winter Well, 140 of the 200 colonizers made it through. And then they all turned tail and ran right back to France,
Wow.
leaving Marguerite alone
Truly marooned.
on the island like
Wow.
one of the only Europeans on the continent
Wow.
with, at that point, a baby.
You would have to befriend some wild creatures and make them your friends. You would have to psychologically survive. You know,
Yeah.
I'd be befriending all the animals, give them names. I'd invent all kinds of relationships in my head. Yep.
What Marguerite did, again, filtered through a very religiously devout priest and a very religiously devout queen, she depended on God. She turned to her Bible. She
That makes
placed
sense.
all of her faith in God.
Of course.
And
Yeah. God, get me off this island. I guess in your own time, thy will be done.
yeah.
This is her vocabulary. A young woman would have had a religious education primarily, and that would have been the context with which she viewed her ordeal. And that was very interesting to me, writing about how she comes to terms with this and the kinds of questions that she or anyone would ask if they feel that they're forgotten. What kind of doubts would creep in? How would she come around to figuring out if she wanted to keep going? Why she would keep going and try to survive with no prospect of being saved?
Apparently, God came through for her.
Yeah.
Because these Basque fishermen
Yeah.
came across her and rescued her.
Wow.
And after 2.5 years of fighting polar bears and eating cloudberries and listening to screaming demons all night, every night, she comes back to France, where she has to slot herself back into this society when she is a
She's been on
completely
a journey.
different shape.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And, you know, you and I have both had this experience on a tiny, minor
Uh-huh.
scale, having some sort of life-changing experience
Mm-hmm.
in another place, and then
Then
coming
you
back,
go back. Yeah.
and you don't fit. Your puzzle piece has changed size. And for me, it was much harder to move back from China than it was to move to China from Iowa.
Yeah.
And so even with that tiny little shred of experience, I cannot imagine
Yeah.
what this transition was like for her.
But also, she's a celebrity now. So I guess I keep thinking of Castaway also.
Yeah.
Think of like how you follow Tom
Yeah.
Hanks back into the real world. And it must have been the same for her. Now I'm in the French court, which is all about wit and performance. And,
Yeah.
And everybody wants to
And
speak
what
to
do
her.
I do?
Yeah. Wow.
And she has lost everything. Roberval has claimed her inheritance, and she's never getting it back. There's nothing she can do.
Well, what was his reaction when she came back? And he's like, oh, you survived?
And we
We
don't
don't
know,
know?
right? We
Oh.
know what he told the Queen of Navarre happened, which is, this man was misbehaving, and I had to maroon him, and she, showing the true loyalty of womanhood, stayed with him.
Wow. That's
But-
the ultimate scene to imagine, though. Oh, hello.
Hi.
Been a while. How you been?
Allegra Goodman does a fascinating thing with this in the book, this re-entry. Because we have no information. We have no way to know what actually happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's been changed to the point that she's strange. And a lot of what she has to do when she comes home is to sort of negotiate that. A lot of the tension and energy in the book comes from that. So she returns from this ordeal a new person, and she has a different idea of what being a woman is, you know? She will never be the same. Like, this experience breaks her and remakes her.
The options for her when she returns, as a woman who is literally property, right? She's not a person, she's property.
Mm-hmm.
she had very few choices and very few options of how to keep herself alive in France, right?
Yeah.
That
Mm-hmm.
her options are almost as limited here as they were on the Isle of Demons in terms of ways to provide for herself and feed herself.
Mm.
It is a matter of life and death for her in both situations. The Queen says that in the end, Marguerite earned her living basically teaching young ladies. So I believe that she became a teacher, and I enjoyed that for her.
Which I guess is one of the few things ladies could do
Right.
on their own. Did she marry again?
We don't know. We have no information
Wow.
about what happened to her. She came back, she started teaching young ladies to read, and
Wow.
disappeared. And the thing that is the most baffling to me, she never wrote any of it down. As far as we can tell, she never wrote anything about her
Fascinating.
experience. Which to me is, I mean, that seems like the obvious way back in, right? You are a celebrity.
Yeah. Okay. I think she wrote it down. The manuscript could have been destroyed over all these centuries, but I think
It could
it's
have,
out
absolutely.
there. It's out there somewhere. Somebody's gonna find it in their
It's
dusty
in somebody's
old attic.
attic.
She wrote it. It's somewhere.
Let's hope so, because good heavens, how could you not?
Yeah,
We know she can write.
it's out there.
Why wouldn't she tell it? And maybe, this is just such extreme PTSD
Yeah.
that she can't. She
Yeah.
can't tell it. She tells it to a priest who is kind of the closest thing you could get to a therapist, maybe, right?
I guess kind of like
But
Mary Peterson Ibsen on the Transcontinental Railroad episode. She never
Yeah.
mentioned it again, never wrote about it, nothing. And
Yeah.
and you guessed in that one too. It might just be like, we will now move forward and never revisit that episode ever again. Time-tested strategy.
because it's an incredible story. It's famous. You're a survivor. But also it starts with, I had an illicit affair outside of marriage, which is immediately disqualifying for her reputation, right? People aren't going to send their daughters to go to school with a woman who had an affair with a sailor.
Yeah, good point.
Maybe her survival depends on these details not getting out. Maybe the framing of the Queen of Navarre, which is frustrating now, of just she was such a devoted wifey. It's all centered around sort of her devotion to God and devotion to this man. That was her way back in. This, what we think of now, right, as like, obviously write a book and make this famous. That would be fatal to her chances of ever being able to slide back in to polite society.
I feel we must give voice to what many early modern historians would probably be screaming at the radio right now. We must say that the reason that no real source exists, including her own, is that she did not exist. Like, we have these two secondhand sources telling different versions, fantastical story, no evidence that it really happened. And so, it is very possible she didn't write anything down because she wasn't a real person. That is a possibility, some people say.
I guess it's slightly possible. We have so much detail about all of the surrounding events, right? We have all the records of the Cartier expedition that does mention that Roberval falls behind Cartier for a bit so that he can leave her on the island and then catch up. And we know that he did fall behind the Cartier expedition because by the time he arrives, Cartier has discovered what he thinks is gold and diamonds and is rushing back to France, leaving the colonists there. Unfortunately for poor Cartier, what he found was iron pyrite and quartz. And it was worthless. But to me, there's enough correlating evidence to say we know for sure she existed, and we know for sure a woman was abandoned on this island and rescued.
Okay. We don't know for sure she existed. Like, there are no primary sources, like birth record, that gives us this woman existed.
We know she existed. Marguerite de La Rocque absolutely existed.
Okay.
Whether or not she got left on an island, we have legal records of her existence. She officially pledged fealty to France in 1536 and is listed as the owner of lands and property that she held alongside her relative and guardian, Roberval.
Okay.
We know that Marguerite de La Rocque existed.
Uh-huh.
We know that Roberval was her relative. And I absolutely understand the impulse, because there were so many people coming forward with wild stories at this time,
There's
right?
a lot of, yes. And there was it was the genre. The New World's just been discovered. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, what is even out there? And so people who had traveled and come back, any kind of wild story, people are starving for. What creatures did you see in the sea? What island did you land on? What strange humanoids did you meet? People who have faces in their bellies and all kinds of stuff.
So I would say it is possible that this didn't happen. It is wildly improbable to me that this didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I would say maybe the fact that she did not go on a speaking tour, that she did not ingratiate herself at the court or write a book or do any of these things.
That she's not a pretender.
Is proof that she's not a pretender.
Yeah.
She's not getting anything out of this in any way that seems obvious.
Yeah.
I think what resonates for me today, and I've heard from readers resonates with them, is just grappling with injustice and figuring out how to find a way to live with grief and frustration and how to remake yourself. I think that experience is what I think people find powerful in her story. Her survival on the island, that's really the heart of the book. And working with that was so much fun. But the other thing that I found incredibly compelling was her return. How difficult it is to come back home.
Huge thanks to our guest, Allegra Goodman. On our website at What's Her Name Podcast, you'll find links to her books and lots of other resources.
You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where we post lots of photos each week.
Music for this episode was provided by Brian Bolger, Track Drive, Emily Sprague, Patches, Sir Cubworth, and the Tudor Consort.
Our theme song was composed and performed by Daniel Foster Smith.
Our intern is Katie Boucher. What's Her Name is produced by Olivia Mickle and Katie Nelson, and this episode was edited by Olivia Mickle. Reese, if you're listening, please make this movie.
She's probably like, I'm on it. Yeah.